Hello, folks. This is Kevin from Good Day, Good Prayers. Today we're going to start talking about jobs. We're going to talk about how both sides, the globalists and the alliance, are treating jobs, how that when the project that the alliance is working on is done, how it will be different from what the globalists were trying to do. Now, I'm going to start with a little bit of history, and the reason I'm going to start with the history, I want to go back just a little bit so that you can see some of the things, some of the different positions that each side had, but also so that you can see what each team, if you will, was playing. Now, if you can remember that the globalists were against the people and the people were the other side, you'll be doing yourself a lot better. Now, I can tell you right off the bat that the alliance is on the side of the people. The globalists, the deep state, all of those other places, mafias, cartels, and so on, are all against the people, and that the alliance is for the people. Maybe that will help a little bit. I want to start by talking a little bit about the central bank. I'm not going to give you all of the information in any one place. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few facts, and I'm going to let you look up the things for yourself. The reason that I'm going to do that is because of the fact that I want you to understand everything from your own standpoint and not have to go out there and try to just accept what I have to say. Research is very important. Research is power. And if you don't have the power, well, then that pretty much limits everything that you can do. If we're talking about jobs, we're also talking about investments. We're talking about everything. And what this is going to do in the long run is it's going to give you the ability to be able to see what you should be doing in the long run as an investor. Because having a job and having the best job is important, but also being an investor is equally important, especially when we get to the point where the wealth is being transferred from the people that stole it from you to back to you. So that's going to be important. So the central banks, the first time that they tried to put a central bank in place there in the United States, they couldn't get it up and running in time. There was a time frame that they had to do it, and they just couldn't get it done. So what happens? Time ran out, so the central bank was disbanded. The second time, and you'll be interested in this, was during the 1840s and 50s, I believe it was. Andrew Jackson single-handedly stopped the second attempt at the central bank. Andrew Jackson is also the one that opened up the land bank so that most of the people that have land today, or at least a large number of the people that have land today, were able to get land from the land bank, and that's how it originally came into being. And there's some very interesting things that you'll find out about that. Now, in 1912, there was a very important accident. It killed about 1,500 people or so, and it was the Titanic. The reason that the Titanic had to sink, and there are some people that say it wasn't actually the Titanic, because what had happened is the Titanic could not get ready for its maiden voyage. And so there was a sister ship and that sister ship was the one that they actually ran, claiming that it was the Titanic. Now, that sister ship had had several accidents, and it had to be repaired before it could go on the maiden voyage. And so they went ahead, from what some people would tell you, and used that ship, which had already had several accidents. The job of the man who ran the ship, and he was Captain Smith, was supposed to create what looked like them hitting an iceberg. Well, it's exactly what they did, but it had to be done on purpose. And the reason it had to be done is because there were 6 people on the ship that had to be eliminated. And by eliminating those people in the way that they did, they were able to in 1913 set up the third attempt at the central bank, which was successful until President Trump. Now, I'm having a problem with one of my eyelashes getting into my eyes, driving me crazy. But anyway, that is the first part of what we want to talk about as far as history. We need to talk about who the leaders of Washington, D.C. were. These were the people that were the go-betweens between the bank system and the people who were a part of Washington. These would be your presidents, your people in Congress, and so on. We talked about the fact that Nelson Rockefeller in the 1990s said that he didn't care who made the laws as long as he controlled the monetary system. At that point in time, the monetary system, about 90% of it, was controlled by the globalists. The rest of the 10 or 12 or 15% of what was out there was controlled by people who were opposed to the globalists. Some of those people happened to be you, and you just didn't know it. So that is how the whole thing got started. I decided to go over the central banks. The next section is going to be talking about who the leaders were of Washington, D.C., and so on. And then we'll talk about assassinations. Then we're going to go ahead and pair up all of the people so that you can see who is on what side. Because once you begin to understand who is on what side, you're going to have an opportunity then to get in touch with, if you will, the idea that, wait a minute, it's not just Republicans and Democrats, it's globalists versus the people. Now, we know from what Andrew Jackson did with the second central bank that he was on the side of the people. He was against the central banks. He was against globalism. He was against all of those things. He did not want that stuff coming to the shores of America. But we're going to discover that there were some presidents that did want it coming to their shores, and they did everything they could to try to make that happen. But we will talk about some further history, and then we will talk about modern day so that you can see how it all has come together and why things are happening the way that they are. Then the last step, we're going to talk about jobs and the metamorphosis of the jobs, where they went and how they're going to come back. And the last thing we'll talk about, of course, is going to be finances. How do you bring the wealth back to your family? Once it is away from the globalists, how do you get it back so that you have everything that you need? The final thing we're going to talk about then is going to be who is on what side. There was a beginning of all of this, and the attempt was that it was going to be a certain way where the people at the top controlled everything and you were a subject. The way that it's going to wind up is that you are going to control everything and you're going to have a leader, and some of you are going to be surprised as to who that's going to be. This is Kevin from Good Day, Good Prayers, and your good prayers are ultimately going to be what's going to allow you to have a good day. So, good day.